Hello and welcome to another episode of Global Insights. I am your host, Feyisola Adetunji. We have the honor of speaking with a remarkable Nigerian whose work has touched lives, classrooms, communities, and continents. So he's none other than Dr. Olatunde Adekola, a seasoned education specialist who has served at World Bank for over 25 years, championing education reforms and development across Africa. Dr. Adekola, you are welcome to this platform.
Thank you very much.
Right. And right by my left is Zachary. Zachary, you can introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you, Feyisola. My name is Zachary Cochran. I am the founder and coach at Cochran Coaching, LLC, and we're recording live today from the Maryland Innovation Center. So it's my pleasure to welcome you to the space, and I'm very happy to have you here, Dr. Adekola. So thank you so much for letting us interview you today. And I've got a couple questions for you, and then I'll hand it back over to Feyisola if that's all right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, wonderful. So Dr. Adekola, you've had a couple of decades or more now at the World Bank, and that's no small feat. What initially inspired your journey into international education development, and how did it evolve over the years?
Yeah, thank you very much. I will say this is my third life. After my PhD program, I was in academic in the university. So I was at a university in the northern part of Nigeria, Federal University of Technology, and later I moved to University of Lagos. And that is my first initial work before I moved to government, in which I work with Nigerian Student Loans Board, the Federal Ministry of Education. And then after working there for some years, up to 10 years, then I moved to the World Bank. So you can see everything I've been doing is more or less in education. But what is interesting is that when I was at UNILAG, before joining government, I was enjoying trying to impact children, students, in terms of what I do, especially in maths, computer science, operational research that I was teaching at that time. So when the opportunity came, I joined government and the Department of Planning, Research and Statistics. I was director, head of Planning, Research and Statistics. And the interesting part is that it's one of the noble job one can do in life, in which is to support poor and vulnerable students in terms of loans to be able to complete higher education. So it was more or less still focusing on students. Then when the opportunity came, and as I was working in government, the World Bank opportunity came, in which some of the projects that we have under Student Loans Board is to see how the World Bank can really support what we can do in terms of providing opportunity for the less privileged, vulnerable groups, which is in line with what I have in mind for a very long time. So being in the World Bank, the opportunity came, so I started the World Bank. And to be honest, immediately I joined the World Bank, I see it that is a bigger call. It's opportunity for service. It's an opportunity to see what difference you can make, not only in terms of students alone, but the education system in Nigeria. That is the focus really. How do we improve the education service delivery to strengthen the systems? How do we make sure that we make a lot of difference in terms of impact? And how better can we serve Nigeria in terms of seeing to leverage all the resources that is available to be able to achieve maximum impact?
Wow, that's beautiful and incredible. Speaking of education systems, you've worked in various countries and you've traveled extensively. What would you say are the key lessons you've learned from engaging with diverse education systems?
Yes, I think I will tell you some of them. But the first that came to mind in my ear is the issue of accountability. And what do you mean by accountability? It's not enough for children to go to school. It's also very important for them to stay in school, and more importantly for them to learn in terms of outcomes. So to be able to do that, there's need for assessments, to be able to see each day that the children are in school, the school should be making difference in their lives. So the accountability is very important in terms of to the teachers, to the parents and the people who are in the system. That is, we should be able to see that we have data, be able to analyze the data and use the data to be able to see what we can do to improve in the system. So that is very, very clear to me, because you find sometimes they say the children are not doing well. If the children are not in school, if they are not in school, if the teachers are not in school, and if they are in school, if they are not punctual and they are not in school, all these things affects children and for them to be like. The second one is the issue of incentives. The incentives within the system is lopsided. Like they used to say in African palace, also in the religious, if people work like elephants and they eat like ants, and those who work like ants are eating like elephants. So it be very, very difficult to improve the systems. So we have to make sure the system align the incentives to the type of outcomes that we want to achieve. So it's very, very important to look at the systems, to look at those ones that are trying to make this to happen and to be able to reward them. Yes, you sanction, but to people like us after being in the system for a very long time, I think it's time to start rewarding those who make things to happen, those who make the difference, so that those who are not doing, they may be able to learn, rather than the other side, that you are not rewarding those who are doing well. All what you are doing is to punish those who are not. Then the other one that I think is very, very important is, yes, we need more resources in education. We need more classroom, we need more books, we need more money, teacher training, and to make sure that the curriculum, all those things, they need resources. So there's no doubt that we need to put in more resources at all levels of education, federal, state, local government. But what is important is what do you use with the resources you have now? If you are not using the resources you have now to deliver the type of outcome result that you are anticipating, putting more money might not make a lot of difference. It's like putting good money into a bad system. It becomes bad money in terms of outcome. So the point I want to say is, yes, we need more money, but we need to use our resources to make more impact. We need to have a more cost-effective, cost-efficient way to deliver education for our people, so that, and change the orientation. Instead of people saying we want more money, what we should be saying, we want more result. We want more outcome. We want more of those things that can be measurable and verifiable, so that you can relate resources to the outcome. If the students are doing like X percentage with money you have, if you increase the money by 2, are you going to get 2x? So that you could be able to hold the system accountable. I think these are the main issue that I think we need to focus on in terms of how do we strengthen the systems, so that at the end of the day, what you will see is like you have data, you can assess, you can know how the things are improving, and then you provide the right incentives, you put more resources based on how the resources. Let me end by saying, if you come to me as an education specialist and you say, yes, you need more money, you want me to support you, there are 3 questions I would like to first ask. What do you want me to do for you? How much is the unit cost to achieve the outcome? So you cannot know if you don't measure, or if you have not done it. Because if you have done it, maybe you've done 30%, 20%, you will know the unit cost. But if you have not done at all, except on paper, and the lesson you learn by doing, you don't have it. So what I'm saying is that we have to make sure that we have an idea of what we are doing by starting, and then we can scale up. Because if you start and you need support of like the World Bank, then you have the unit cost. The second one that I will ask, how long does it take? Do you know how long it will take? If you have not done it, you can have it in the paper. But it's because if you have done it, because remember in the World Bank, they want to support you for impact. So if you don't know the unit cost, if you don't know how long it will take, then how do we make sure we don't have the baseline? And then you will go. Then the third one, which I will ask, which can only do if you have already using your money to deliver, how will you sustain it? So those 3 questions is very germane for development. Because if somebody wants to bring more money, then they can know how much you need, right? Because they know the unit cost. Then 2, How long will it take? Then they hold you accountable for delivery. And then the issue of sustainability is very, very important. So all those issues are what I learned after working in the World Bank, and I think is still relevant in terms of how do we sustain and have a better education service delivery in Africa.
Thank you, Dr. Adekola. I mean, he's extensively experienced and he's able to say everything at the go. Very professional. I will ask this question from you, Dr. Adekola. I want to take it back home to Nigeria now. You were actively involved in shaping education policy. What were some of the policy frameworks or interventions World Bank contributed to, and how did they impact the system? Because girls child education, and what about technical and vocational education? And I know you were a pivotal to that. You started all of that, and then you work with government to make sure that they are able to implement those key policies. I just want you to tell our audience, those key things that you were able to do in those areas.
Oh, thank you very much. I have been involved in all sectors or subsector of education. Maybe early childhood, early primary, upper primary, junior secondary, senior secondary, which you can divide into two, the conventional senior secondary and technical and vocational. And then also the tertiary, in which I've also been involved in science and technology education, part of it. And for each one of them, there are projects that are being involved, because if you check in the earlier project when I joined the World Bank, we talk about the primary education project. It's the national primary education programs that the Nigeria has at that time, which also transform into universal basic program in Nigeria, in which 9 years of basic education is very, very important. So during those period, you can see the challenge that I see under basic education at that time, which is also related to the issue of accountability. The schools-based management system is very weak. That is, the people who manage at the school level. And the reason why it's very weak, there are no policies, there are no issue of accountability. So with other development partners, the World Bank, the UNICEF, the USAID, we'll be able to institute to let the government support government to have the schools-based management policy in which we can hold the school accountable for outcomes. Before now, the resources is mostly at the ministry level, it's at the local government level, but the money is not getting to the school. So if you say you want to hold people accountable, then there must be resources so that for them to be able to deploy, to be able to improve the school system in terms of if they need books, in terms of teacher training, in terms of what they call. And what we notice is that the more resources are deployed to the school level and accountability, then you can hold the school accountable for the children performance, whether they can read, whether they can write, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, all those issues related early childhood and early primary. So we did a lot of work on that. And then at a particular time also, we also have project, like you said, on TVET, technical and vocational. And the reason why that one also is part of the issues that people like us have identified, which I will also say now. That is, there are 3 types of issues that have been recurring. The first one in Nigeria that I see and in Africa is the learning crisis. That is either children who are in school or children who are out of school. The learning is very low in terms of what they can do. So what that means is that, yes, we have the challenge of out of school children, people who are supposed to be in school that are not in school. But the children who are not in school, who are in school but are not learning, they also just like the people out of school because they are in school, but you say they are not learning. The one that is outside are also not learning. So what we have really is a learning crisis. Whether you are in school or you are in out of school, we should be able to make sure children can read, can write, learning, literacy, numeracy, foundational skills is very, very important. So to people like us, we believe is that school should make a lot of difference in children. For every day they go to school, we should be able to add value in terms of what they do. And for those who have already out of school, who are not in school again, or they in school, they drop out. And what do we need? We need to give them skills. We have to make sure that at the end of the day, apart from foundational skills, they should be able to have some skills, either technical and vocational skills, digital skills, and some other soft skills, communication, interpersonal, financial literacy, all those things that can make a difference in their life. And therefore, to be able to move forward, the first is to see how we can stop the bleeding, stop the hemorrhage. And how do you stop the hemorrhage? To make sure today, every child of school age should be given opportunity to be in school. Because you stop the bleeding. If every child today are in school, then the one outside will not increase. But if you don't focus to stop the hemorrhage, to make sure every child now, if many of them are not going, then the out of school will never end. So the first step is to make sure, say by September or by the school year, every child who should be in school should be in school. Then the second level is not enough for them to be in school. We should make sure they complete schooling so that the school make a lot of difference in their lives. And then they will be able to learn. Yeah. So those are the type of thing. And for the issue of technical and vocational, I think it's another major issue that I think, apart from the out of school children, that is very, very important. Why? Because at the end of the day, the type of model we have in Africa today, in Nigeria today, is like there's a disconnect between the private, the non-state actors, and the state actors, between the private sector and the public sector. The children, they cannot learn from what is happening in the industry. So what people like us are saying, and what I did over the years, like in Lagos or government technical colleges, is to provide incentive for private sector to relocate, like what we have in this innovation hub, so that you give incentive for private sector to move into school, into technical school, so that they can be providing the type of knowledge, experience, and equipment government to partner, PPP, partnership with government, so that the children, before they leave school, they can have the experience, the expertise that is required by the industry. The approach we have now, before the intervention, I call this a deficit model. What do you call a deficit model? You make sure the children finish school before you start giving them what is required to be able to get job. No. Private sector don't work like that. You don't produce before you look for market. There must be market before you produce to meet the need of the market. So that at the end of the day, immediately you produce, then you get the market. But if you see the type of education we have now, it's like it's not working. It can work for developed countries because they have so many companies and so. But for Africa, we should align the education, the curriculum, to the need of the private sector. So as long the private sector, they can see that the children are very good and they can learn it and they can do, then when they get to their companies, they will just teach them some other things and they can start working. And it can also reduce inequity in the society. When children finishes, it's only those people who have connection, who have people, who know people, that gets job. But if the private sector move when they are in school, every child, they are equal. So the private sector will be able to identify those who are very talented, and they will be able to make network and all these things, and they can have association. So technical and vocational, this partnership, we should continue to see how we bring both the state actors and the non-state actors, all the private sectors, to bring them together to be able to do. And then the last one that I think is the issue of equity. That is, we should make sure the girls, the females, are also involved in all levels of education, because you can't clap with one hand. You have 50% in the national population between female and male. And if you don't give opportunity for girls, it means you are just concentrating on 50% of what you can achieve. But if you can put girls and give them all the opportunity, then it means your productivity can increase, innovation can increase, and better outcomes can be achieved through competition within the system.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much. Now that you are stepping away from the former office, how does it feel to leave, after such a long and impactful career. What do you reflect on most? What do you
Yeah.
reflect on most?
Let me see this. I work in the World Bank is an opportunity, it's a privilege, and there is an honor. But I can tell you, after spending this year, I feel very fulfilled. I feel happy, and I look forward for the next life. Like I used to tell people, they say the world is a village. But to me, after working in the World Bank for these 25 years, I can now tell you the world is a school. Why? We are both learners and teachers. Every human being, when you are teaching people, you are learning. When you are learning, you are also teaching your teachers.
That's true.
So I'm putting now for everybody to see that education is not just for people that teach, but it's also for those people that learn. Because I've learned a lot from a lot of people, managers, colleagues, friends. But my greatest knowledge and life is from the client. It's from the people I'm made to serve. They are the one that also help. And I can give example. When I get to the school and I ask, how is your result in this school in mathematics? And I look at the result. I will look at it at the end of the day. What is the performance? And if I look at the performance and it's not good, I will say, where is the teacher? Sometimes the teacher will not be in school. Sometimes the teacher, and then when you ask them, what do you need? They say they need more money. I say, well, you are not in school. What will more money do for you? So it's issue of accountability. When you have not in school, if you are in school and your children are not in school, what will more money do? So issue of money, yes. So I learned a lot. The second one is that I know the teachers. They know what to do if they are incentivized, if they are encouraged, training, incentives for them. You pay them very well, you make them motivated. They can do a lot because at the end of the day, they are just like parents to these children. So they need to be able to engage. So if you're a teacher, you are also learning from the children. And you children, students, remember, you are not only a student, but you are also, your teachers are also learning from you. So at the end of the day, we can meet each other in a way that we can add value to each other, and then we'll be able to get. Another thing that I see about the system that I think is very, very important. It's like you are building a house. You must start from the beginning. But unfortunately, before we know the result, is when people get to 12th grade. So if children are not doing well, they are not doing well right from the beginning.
The beginning, that's true.
But what do? You continue to move them. So when they say children are not doing well, it's the system that is not doing well. When children are failing, it's the system that is failing them. So whatever we need to do is to see how to strengthen the system, the inspectors, the quality assurance, assessment, transparency, accountability, and to build trust within the system. Then it will make a lot of difference. So I'm living with a lot that I've learned from people, and the modest that I look back and I see what difference we can make for the system. And there are three things I think, maybe just to end, that I can say people like us have contributed. The first one is what I said before. I can remember 25 years ago when at that time, no money in school because there is no school-based management committee set up and resources. People don't believe that the school can manage resources. They even told me, they said they've never bought chalk, they've never bought books, everything is coming from the top. The World Bank, why do you want to give them this money? They will not use it well. I said, no. I say it's like you build a house, you put a pipe. If you don't put small water inside the pipe, how will you know whether it's leaking? You have never put money there, but you are saying they will misuse it. Let's give it a try. So the first grants we give to school was two schools in each of the states. Can you believe that? 2, because of lack of trust. 2 schools, we passed money to them. When some of them collected the money, they started crying. I said, why? They said since they've been in this school, they've never received any money from government. At everything they come, if a roof is leaking, they have to go to the government. If anything, they need anything. But now that you are giving us this money, you have entrusted us, and we make sure we use it well. And before we finish the project, from those two schools, we get to 10,000 schools. And today, giving money to schools in Nigeria is giving. It's part of even the UBE law. And you must now be giving money. So if you give to university now, they give them money. Polytechnic, everywhere, money is now flowing to the system. So to me, I feel very happy because it brings more accountability. If you don't put money to school, and you say the children are not doing well, with what are they going to improve the system? Because the money is at the top. It's not getting down. So that's that. The second one is the issue. There is a project that we have, Africa Centers of Excellence. I remember they want to do the project and they came to my office and they say, oh, we want to do. Oh, I say, it's okay. Let all universities in Nigeria, let them participate. They now say, no, that it's not the way they do it. That let only the federal universities participate. I said, why we should be federal? They said Nigeria. What about the state universities? What about the private universities? They now said that their mandate, they prefer to the federal, and they have the skills, they have what it takes, and they have the resources. So I now say, it's okay, let's go and see the chief executive, who is the executive secretary of NUC at that time. And I was very pleased with the executive secretary. He said, Prof, World Bank, what do you come again to do? I said, we've come to explain. And I explained to him. I said, you are going for competition in Africa. It's like a football match. You don't start self-selection. You allow everybody to go. It's only after the result you can now be selected, but you don't even know who is going to win. Why are you? They say Africa Centers of Excellence. So do you know whether your excellence will come from private school or from state or from federal? Then the chief executive said, Prof, you are making sense. And told all his colleagues, let's give it a try. Let's go for the competition. By the time they finished the competition, do you know who came first? A private university. The whole Nigeria, they were jubilating. Nobody talk about federal or state again. Why? Because you want result. It's like a football match. If it's from one community and they can win the gold, go for it. So I see that as a very big achievement. Why? It shows they give the federal resources, national resources to private sector, which shows that you need partnership between the private and the public to get excellence. The state and non-state actors. You need this partnership, the collaboration, innovation to be able to strive, and people can learn from each other. And of course, during the project too, some of resources were also given to a state university because they too are part of the top. So the point I'm making is that these are the type of things we break the boundary. That is, if we don't do this type of project because it's an African excellence, not Nigeria excellence, then you compete. So it makes me to feel, if I remember all this type of thing, it makes me to feel that at least we have added value, then we have made a lot of difference.
Thank you, Doctor. That's been so rich. I will say that I think we've had that conversation before, and I know you are prepared to pour all of these experiences into the next generation, and I think you are prepared to do that. So, yes. For younger educators and policymakers listening today, so what kind of mindset and leadership approach do they need to make lasting impact in education? So
yeah, I think the first thing I think is very important is the character. You just have to believe that you want to make a difference. You want to add value, and you want to make sure you write your own story. For anything you do, especially for young people, are you making progress? Is today better than yesterday? Because some of the young people, they get captive with yesterday. I'm an historian, so I like history. And history is very good. History, you need to learn of what happened. But the only weakness about history, you cannot change it. So if something happened to you yesterday, or yes, you can think about it, you can talk, you can do, but can you change it? So what does that mean to young people? Today is more important than yesterday. You learn from yesterday and you improve today. So this today is your opportunity that you have. Try to use it well and make a lot of difference. But today also has a weakness. What is the difference of today? You can still make mistakes. So you need courage. Because some people cannot act today because of yesterday. They are afraid That what about if I make mistake? But it's better to act and make mistake. Why? Because the mistake you made today will help you with for the ultimate. And what is the ultimate tomorrow? You cannot make mistake for what has not been done.
That's right.
So you learn from history, you make mistake today, then your tomorrow will be better. So for young people, they should believe in themselves. They should believe that they need to work with others. They should believe that if you have honesty, honest labor, then you can have true progress. If you can do it, and then you'll be pragmatic and just be focusing more about tomorrow. That whatever it can be tough today, and like they used to say in Africa, don't use all other people's wash as your own wash. Because you may not know which part of the day. So they are. So what I will advise young people and what I will those people that are listening, that remember, no matter what we do, it's an unfinished business. So you should never, even if it's your parents, your teacher, it's your everything, they have not finish everything. Because if they are finished, then why are we greater than our parents, our teachers, it means there's still so much to be done. So for people who think, no, it cannot be done, it can be done. If you apply yourself very well and open your mind to learn from others. And then you should be able to know at the end of the day, the world is not linear. Because at the end of the day, there are people who will start very fast, but at the end, it might not turn out. And some people, they will be very slow, but eventually it will come. Then what does that mean? What it means is that what made the difference is the courage that you bring to life and to your experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I mean, Zachary, you see.
It's amazing. Amazing. I feel so privileged to be in the room right now.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds great. And I think at this moment, did you know that he was celebrated at the Nigerian embassy?
Yes, it was
The
very,
holidays.
That's wonderful.
Yes, it was a
yeah.
great moment. The ambassador was so excited to receive him.
Yes.
And then we had a good celebration. And coincidentally, it was his birthday.
So let me say
birthday.
this before we end. I really want to thank Zachary Cochran. Feyi. I really want to thank you. And then, of course, the Innovation Hub that provided this platform. And like you said, I really, really see this as a big opportunity for me. Because at the end of the day, I look at it that if you have all these things and you don't have the opportunity to talk about it, it might not be all that fulfilling.
Exactly.
You can see the way I talk with passion, with interest. It's because I have ability and I still want to give back. So all what we are doing now and all that I'll be doing before I leave office or my last day in office, I will still continue to see how I can share knowledge, how I can share information, and I can make myself available to people too, so that at the end of the day, I should be looked as a person that to whom much is given, much is expected, and I should be able to give it all.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I mean, we could see the desirability to really continue passionately what he is known best how to do. It's rare to see who is this experienced and is also ready to pour into the next generation. It's a good one. So
Really good word for that, yeah.
Exactly. So Zachary, we want to appreciate you for this great opportunity to be here today. You facilitated the process and all that. So we're so excited for that, and
so thank you very much. I hope we still have so many things we can do together. Like I was telling the other guy, this innovation, that this type of hub is what we need also in Africa. Because, like I used to tell people, which is what we don't know is more than what we know as an individual. Then you can only know more when you come together. Because if it's only you believe you are fantastic.
Whether you're right or you're wrong.
Exactly. But when you come to others, you could, because I'm a university person, I see the beauty. Because I remember one of my projects in those days, I said, if you work alone, I will give your institution $250,000, I think. I say, if you work or department, if your department, anybody wants you a department, a faculty, a university, if you work alone, I will give you $250. But if you work with another department or another faculty and another university, I will give you 500 and
$100,000.
$500,000. But if you work more with other people, I will give you $750,000. If you can bring a proposal that shows that is for more, 750. If it's for two, 500. It's for one, 2 or 250. So you now have an option. Do I only get 500 or I do for two of us and do better things to have 500? Or we bring more people, I have 750,000. And it works. It works.
Yeah.
So like I'm saying, the incentives, why I introduced that in one of my projects, it's to give incentive for people to work together. Because if you want people to work together, they will say, what will I gain? What is the need for me? That's why I talk about the issue of incentives. So most of the project, I have to think. So it's like, I read operational research. It's to look at it at the end of human behavior. You need to know how people think. Like they think, what is the need for me? It's not about money alone. There are people who are altruistic. They will say, oh, year after. That's why they are doing it. But at the same time, there are some people who want to see the reward now. And there are some people that they see that they work with other people, even with that incentive. But at the end of the day, those who don't do it, they say, what do they get from it? What difference does it make? So, but if you provide the right incentives, you see some people can still work together. And for those who doesn't need incentives and that you give it to them, they will still be able to do more. So the issue about human beings is very, very important to see how we can work together and all this, which is most problem I see within the education sector. See, like there are two sectors that I can tell you based on my experience that you cannot do it without non-state actors or private sector. The one people know about is the issue of skills. That is this way how do people with skills? You need public and private. The second one is early childhood. Because in Africa, a lot of people are in that space, but they are not government.
That's true.
They teach small children in kindergarten, in their home, in their communities. So these are things, but government don't see it as. And sometimes when you say some children are very good when they are in primary, it's because they have been supported by the parents, the non-state actors, before they get to school. So when they get to school at 5 or 6, you are not measuring like with like. Some children are already disadvantaged. So, but if you give opportunity for people, because that's what life is all about, really.
Creating opportunities for
Equal
people.
and equitable opportunities. That's why I said when I started, it's an opportunity for me to work in the World Bank. So it's that opportunity. There are people who are better than me. There are people who know more than me. There are people, but the opportunity is not there. Then if you have the opportunity, how do you use it? What difference do you make with the opportunity? And what impact are you having? Can you look back later in life, like I'm feeling today, that will say, it's okay, this is the opportunity I have to the best of my ability. This is what I'll be able to achieve. And if I have more opportunity, I will still do more for people.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for coming on board.
Sorry, you can see I can continue. So let's just, he knows me.
Yeah.
This is just, I'm
Well,
a professor, and I enjoy
has
it.
a lot. Yeah. Yeah, just,
25
have a
years, walk
conversation.
all over. I've been to Chile, everywhere, all over. In
So-
Africa, in Asia, India. They are talking about Chile today. I remember when I was in San Diego, like 20 years ago. It's from them I learned this issue of fund to support universities, competition. It's from there I learned it because they've already doing it. The capacity in Chile, it's like Europe, it's like US. They are very strong. Then the second one I learned from them, they have very strong non-state actors, missionaries, religious, who are
and they
involved in
support
education.
they support education.
Like Catholic University, Methodist University, very strong, but they don't discriminate. Like with Nigerians, they don't care. The government support them or give them money. Because when you talk about excellence, it doesn't matter. It's the same people at that church or all those type of things. So I really learned from a lot of India. I went to many African countries, Singapore, everywhere. But for each one of all these things too, when I go, I will encourage my client, Nigeria, to also visit and learn. Even in US here, Google, Apple, all the offices in Silicon Valley, Mountain View. We were there just to make sure, because you can talk from now to tomorrow, but sometimes when you see, it makes a lot of difference.
That's true.
So when I visited places, that's why I told you jokingly, if I have opportunity, I will still bring people here. I will still bring you. I've done that too. I brought some professor. I did many things to talk from University of Maryland to University of Lagos and do research together. I provide funds for them. So many things that we can do. I feel honored. And what did I do? I said, both of you form proposal. So the people of Nigeria, Unilag, they went to University of Maryland, computer science and all this. Those people too, they went. So that to build partnership.
Kind of
I say
exchange.
after you visit,
Kind of exchange.
then after you have visited, you see what this one can do, you see the gap. Oh yeah, both of you come with a proposal and I fund it.
That's
The
educational
World Bank
exchange.
assisted.
That's good.
It's not like with the way it happens. Somebody will sit down here. I'll be doing a proposal for somebody in Africa. You that you have not even know
Been
what
there,
it
you
is.
don't even know
The same
what is
thing with
going on
people in Africa because they want to come to US. They will come with something. I said, no. Go and see, interact with them. Let them to come. They see your condition. And both of you come together. Then you can now do what can work. And I will now make it like a result based. If you achieve 10%, 20%, I give you 20% together. If you achieve 50, I give you 50. So as money is moving, your collaboration is moving. Your achievement is improving. The result also is improving. Thank you. I mean, don't let us
Thank
go.
you so much. Thank you so much. I mean,
Take us home,
we-
Feyisola.
yeah.
This is incredible. This is really a
Exactly.
beautiful conversation.
Exactly.
Thank you for being here for this.
Our audience, they've learned a lot from Dr. Adekola, and we would just want to wish him well and his future endeavors. He's able, he's capable, and he's even ready to also pour more into the system. So I feel there are brilliant opportunities ahead for him, and then even I feel the national government back home will also want to tap into his rich experience to also turn things around positively. So just want to appreciate him for being here as well. And then we're going to call it a close at this moment. Zachary, thank you for being here too.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's an honor.
Thank you so much.